So here we have done some basic forms, right? I think this was the same UI which was before in the last meeting. So let's try to do some forms and then try to see how we can manipulate the data. Okay. For that, we are gonna use some packages, that is FormIK here. Let's say we will go and then just install that part. So get started. We can just find the installation part. So either if you're using npm, then you can use npm install formik hyphen hyphen save. So whenever you use hyphen hyphen save, what will happen now? This will write the name in the package.json dependencies part. So if you notice here, formik is already installed. So let me try install again so that we will have an idea. So how will you uninstall the packages if it is already installed? Npm uninstall the name of the package. So the name of the package is formik. Okay. So let me uninstall first. Yeah. So now I'll just install it again. Copy that. Then we'll try to install it again. And the API part also running, the front end part also running. Oh, sorry, front end part we just installed. So we'll try to run. So what is the command used to run? npm run start. This start represents the same start in the script part. Okay, let me run it now. So now the front end part also running. So when we are talking about React, the first thing that comes to our mind props, correct? Second one, state, of course. When we talk about props, there are one more thing also will come into picture, that is event handling. Okay. So technically, this will be if you want to simply talk about this part props. So this will be passing data from parent to child. This one will be child to parent. Okay. So anyone can help me with the state part, how it works? So first we will define a variable. Let's say if it is loading. So this will be the initial state. This is the state variable, and this is the function to help us to update the state variable. So let's say if it is for an example constant loading, set loading equal to use state of false. So this will be the default value that we are passing. Loading is the variable name, and then set loading is a function to set the change the state of the loading. Let's say if we are talking about some array or some sort of things. So let's say data, set data, use data of array. So maybe this one we can just keep it as items so that it will be more convenient. Okay. So let's say when we are talking about parent to child, first of all, how will you call the component? It's similar to the simple tag. Maybe I'll try to keep it in the README file. Hmm. Let's assuming that there is a component called sign up form. Let me take the props as a value. I mean props as the argument. Then just return something. How will you call this component? So first we will put the open bracket and the name of the component. Then we can close. So let's say if you want to pass some data to this form, let's say if you want to pass the title, so we have to use this property props title. Let's say sign up form. How will you access this sign up form inside this component? So let's say we can take the props as a variable dot title, as simple as that. Okay, well, so this will be, we can call it as component name of the component. This will be the prop, title prop, and the value of the prop is here string, simple string. Let's say you want to pass some number to that page. Let's say you want to pass some data, let's say age. Whenever you want to pass the number, then you have to use curly braces, interpolation bracket, and then you can pass the data. Let's say 10. How will you access that here? Props.age. That's it. Can we use props square bracket of title? The same way, can you use this line number 34 and 35? It's a simple object and key value pair now, because props is the object. So from the object, we can access two ways. Either we can use dot notation or we can use the square notation. Either way, it's fine. I think this is more clear way to represent. So we will not using this until otherwise we are, passing dynamic variable. Okay. So here, just for naming conventions, I'll try to write it down so that it will be easier to follow. First thing here, whenever we say this one, we can call it as name of the component, title, age, or props. Okay, well, and what are the two ways of importing the React? I mean, importing the component from the other files. This one we have already discussed. One is default import. Another one will be named or non-default import. So let's say here, when we talk about default import, it's straightforward. Here the React is the default import. If you want to talk about non-default import or the named import, what we can do? Use state. Use state, use effect, use memo, something like that. And for the default import, we can have any name other than the name which was exported by default, but we preferably try to keep the same name as the component name. Let's say, how will you do the default export here? Export default sign up form. So now if you want to import this one to this component, how will we do that? Let's say import sign up form from sign up form. Let's say if it is not the default one and you have exported like this. Now how we have to do that? Import sign up form from the, so this will be the default import. Here will be the not default import. So the naming convention, so this will be the name of the component. These are the props that you're trying to pass. And there are two ways to do that. Okay, let's try in an example here. Let's go to the index.js and then we'll try to find the routes. From the routes, we'll try to add some route here. Let me add, I've just duplicated. Let me add user slash sign up. Let's say sign up. Do we have any form created here? No, so far, no. So let me create one more folder called sign up. Inside that, I'll try to create index.js. Okay, so let's keep it as a constant sign up form props. Okay, so for now, we'll simply return. Okay, Now what we can do, we can do the default export. So export default sign up form. Let me go here and then try to import. So how do you import? Because it's a default export, so we can import it like sign up form from pages start pages slash sign up. So let me go here. Yeah, that is correct. Now let me go back here. If you notice here, there is no links are there, but still you can able to access the sign up page. So sign up page is okay. But if you want to add up this link here, what we have to do? We have to go to home page or the intro page. Then we can try to add some links so that it will be easier for initial days. User plus sign up. Sign ups are there. So now good to go. Okay. Any queries here so far?
No, sir.
No, sir. Yeah, good to go. So now what we can do, so the already server is running, no problem with that. So now we'll come back and then try to add up some forms. So first step we have already installed. So if we go back to the package.json, see for the first time whenever you guys start cloning, no, at the time you might not have installed any of the packages. So in that case, what you can do, you can simply use yarn install or npm install. What it does, it will try to look for package.json and whatever it is there in the dependencies, and one more thing called dev dependencies. I think here there is no dev dependencies. Yeah, that's okay. So whatever it is there here, it will try to install all things. So you can just simply do the npm install. But because we have already installed everything, so it will not do anything right now. So let me start again. Yeah, so started. Now come back. Okay, let me go to form ik. Similar to this, it can be any library. No problem with that. So what you have to do, you have to just follow the documentations what they have given. And for learning purpose, you can try to see some videos, try to read some articles for learning purpose. But when you really wanted to develop something on that package, what you can do, I personally recommend you go to the respective official documentations and then just following up the procedures, because there could be a possibility. Let's say today we are talking about farm ik, the version is 2.4.4. Let's say after 1 year you are watching back this video again, what will happen? This version might change, and there could be a possibility they might have added something, they might have removed something. Okay, so it's always recommended to try to go to the respective official documentation, then try to follow the steps. So let me go to tutorial and then try to see. And there are so many stories are going on here, so we need not to worry much. Now tell me here, there is something called react. Is it a non-default export or default export?
Default export.
Okay, what about use form ik?
Non-default.
Non-default export or named export, correct? So here, what is the form ik here? The which one? The one I have highlighted. It is the package that we are using. Okay, it can be any package name, so no problem with that. Now will whenever we try to take up any snippet from online, so what you have to do, you try to see the things that you already knew. So let me go back and then try to put this one and then try to replace. So I think from this part to this part, which is common. Okay, so let me go here and then try to adjust it. Yeah, good to go. And one statement is import, that we can place it on the top. So let me remove this also. As we discussed in the last meet, what we have to do for the first time when you are opening up any component, let's say you are seeing for the first time, what you have to do? First, minimize all the things and try to see the big picture. What is the big picture here? How many components are there in this file?
One.
One. So, and of course, for each component, we'll have the return. Yes or no? So first we need to focus on the return part. Now from the return part, this form is that we already comfortable with. The on submit is we already knew. Label we already know. HTML for, whenever you are clicking on a label, trying to focus. So with the ID part, this email and this email is our same. Okay. So let's say I'll try to keep it as email input. This one and this one are interrelated. Okay, ma'am. So for for readability purpose, we will always try to keep it this way. But for learning purpose, what you can try to keep it as a different one. So ID, name, type, all very simple HTML part. On change also simple HTML, value also simple HTML. The only thing which is unknown part is form dot handle submit, form ik dot handle change, form ik dot value dot values dot email. That is first thing. Second thing, similar to use state, they also have some variable called form ik, and they are using use form ik from the library. And if you notice that it is a simple English word, right? When we say initial values, what is that mean by? We are trying to set some value, or trying to set some value when the page is getting loaded. So what is the value that we are trying to set here? Empty. It can be any value. Let's say whenever you are editing a form, what will happen? What we are expecting there? We are expecting the data has to be pre-filled by default when we are clicking on edit. But when we are clicking on new, we are expecting something not pre-filled. But there could be a possibility some of the checkboxes or some of the options might be pre-filled. Okay, for those places we can use the initial values. And on submit is something, whenever we click on a submit, what will happen? It will try to trigger the form submissions. So let me remove this one and then try to do the console. So let me add a sample at, okay. So now I have added some email ID and then some console and try to see what is going on here. Let me go back here. So pages are came. So let me refresh it again. Can you able to see here right now the form is pre-filled? The particular field is pre-filled. Where it is coming from? It is coming from the initial values. Let me add one more field. Let's say we want to add something like full name. Can we add a full name? Yes, we can add full name. Let me add here also full name. But type is not a full name. Hmm. Full name type will be, let's say, text. And here the field is we are expecting is full name. Let's say sample name one. Okay. So this will be text. Everything's okay. But here we have to change it to full name. Okay. So shall we refresh the page and then try to see? Clear it, refresh the page. Yeah. So full name came. Name is pre-filled, and then sample at sdiv.in is filled. Now let me try to submit the form. Can you see whenever we submit the form, whatever the data which is pre-filled, it is coming. So let me change and then try to check. Clear it, then try to submit again. Now whatever the changes, latest data are pre-filled, and then it changed in the state, and then it's coming. Gmail.com, good to go. Yeah. So all the data are changed and all the data are coming in the form. It's a very simple. Let's say if you want to implement the login form, hardly it will take 2 minutes to come up with the login form. Right? Let's say in the previous method in the login form, we have added some more extra effort to do that. For example, let's say we have to set the data to the form, and then we also take the key from the form, and then we try to set the value. Okay. But in this case, that will be taken care by the library, that is form IK. So it can be any library, but only thing you have to just go to the official documentation and then try to review the code and adjust accordingly. Okay. So now let's say if you want to add one more field, let's say password. We can do that. Password. Let me change into PWD for to try to see the difference. So let me keep this one as password and this one also password. So this type is password is simple HTML1. Okay. And here we have to change into password. So now this PWD and this PWDs are same, and this one is whereas the same as here. Let's say Okay. Now, well, let me go back and then try to see. Yeah. So now if we'll try to submit the data, what will happen? So it will try to come. Let me change and then check again. Yes. Now one problem with this UI. So the UI is not that comfortable. So maybe we might wanted to improvise that UI. Maybe for that also what we can do, we can try to install some material designs or some sort of things. Let's say if you're going in MUI core, maybe we can choose material UI, and then we can also get started. How do we do the installation part? We can just follow the commands. That's it. So let me copy that. Let me stop the server, and we can also use save. Let me start again. If you go back to package.json, right? So if you notice here somewhere, yeah, MUI materials also installed. Okay, so now the server is started. Now let me go back to the material UI and then try to adjust. Let me go to component. Maybe some input box might be there, something like that. Text field. So this is what we are looking for, correct? So let's say text field, so and so, maybe with icons, text field, margin. Which one we'll pick? We'll pick the simple one from the top, outlined. Yeah, this is okay. Let me take this and then try to see. So instead of this first one for the full name, so instead of this input box, maybe we can try this. The variant is outlined. Instead of full name, we might wanted to change it to full name here. And then ID will be in our case, let's say full name. I think this also we might not require. Now we'll go and check the UI. What happened? Text field is not imported. Tell me what has happened here. We are trying to use something, but that is not imported. So how will you import? So we can go back here and then try to see the import statement. No import statement. I think we need to look for the import statement, where it is coming from. So import is from where? Okay, I think we can just go to the top and then write in. Import is from MUI material. So let me go back here and then try to see. Came. First part is came. So technically it is working, but only problem is that it is not pre-filled. Correct. We are expecting the data to be pre-filled. How do we do that? So for that we need to pass the data. How do we pass the data? These two things has to be passed here. Let me check again. Yeah. So down data are came, data are pre-filled. Only problem is that right now the full names are hiding in the top. So maybe what we can do, we'll try to use some card or something like that. Which one we'll use? We'll use app bar. Okay, we'll use paper, elevation, outline, so on. So okay, we'll try to use simple paper now. We'll try to wrap it with the paper. And paper has to be imported from where? Imported from the material. Now what we can do, we can try to add some. Something is not working correctly, or okay. So now it's comfortable UI. The only thing padding also we might add. Yeah, so good to go. So now the forms are okay. Now we'll try to replace the same thing. But before that, before going to the next step, what we have to do, we have to check the names are coming. Let me change it to 2 and then try to check so that whatever we were working before, it should be the same. Okay, so I think this particular field is working perfectly fine. Now we can just take up this part, the old one. And now that is more even more simple. Now what we can do, we can try to check, check is there any other type which helps us to define the email field. Okay, so let me go back to text field again and then try to see is there any email. Seems like we might not have to worry much. So we can just go ahead with the same way what we have right now. I think normal field only. So nothing to worry much right now. Input label, input base, input form control, more or less same. Okay. Let me duplicate and then change it to email. And this also email. And then only thing maybe we might have to pass type equal to email. Then form IK, this one will be email. Good to go. Let me go back and then try to see. Yeah. So now we have to remove this part. So we'll remove this part and then try to check everything's working fine or not. Let me check here. Let me change and then check. Yeah. So that also working perfectly fine. Now a type email also working perfectly fine right now. So we have tested all the three cases and then move on with the next one. So let me remove this one. Then we can try to use the text field. Do they have any specific type for password? So we have the password. We can try to see the sample. What one, two, third one. Okay, so there is no much different. So which is the same. So this will be we have kept it as password. The label will be password. Outline. This will be password. That's it. Now we'll go back to the UI and then try to see everything good to go. So now we'll try to submit. That's again, and then I'll try to remove something. Something is not correct. What is that? Password. I think this also should be password. Let me correct it again. Ah, so I think they are depending on ID only in this scenario. So good to. So now everything's again. Now only one thing is different is button. So how we can do that? So let check is there any button? Just toggle button group. Which one we need? So we'll go for contained one. Okay, good to go. So let me go here and then try to adjust. The only thing we have to adjust add is submit type. Other than that, good to go. So this will be, let's say, change it to submit. The button is not imported. How we can do that? If we notice that all the data are coming from packages only, so we'll try to import. Let me check this way also working fine or not. Yeah. So if it is working like that, then what we can do, we can also import this way. good to go. The only thing, the form is not in, one way or by one. What we have to do? Again, we can just go and refer the areas and then try to adjust accordingly. Let let me check text field. Here it is coming side by side. So what they have done, simply they have added a div. So they are using box. They are using box, component is form, and then they just try to keep field size as 25 ph. Okay. Now let us go and explore what is box here. Okay. That is box is something like where we can specify the area. Maybe we can also check the grid. What are other things are there? Grids are there. Containers are there. Container fixed. Box. Material UI. So they are specifying the width of S6. What are other combinations? Box also supports system properties that you can use. Origin top, that we do not need. We need something like side by side or one by one. How we can do that? We can simply use container maybe for the top. Let me go back to the UI. Okay, so containers are came, and then we can remove the paper now. Okay, so if we remove the paper, then it will ask you. Let me keep that. Yeah, now that is okay. Now the only thing we have to keep it as contained one. If we go to text box, now we have to see is there any option to keep the complete input box as contained. So like this, what we are expecting, correct? So the complete row has to be occupied. So how we can do that? We can go and try to see what they have given. So we have to add form control for the amount field. Password amount. Okay, so we can use password or form control for MX1. So let me go here and then try to adjust it. So let me try it for one. Okay, so we can also add this one to the import statement. Yeah, so now came. Now we'll try to adjust the same way for all other things. Okay, so now the forms are came. Only thing now, maybe this submit button also either in the middle or some big button or some sort of things. What we can do, we can go to the button component and then try to see the other properties. So one is text, contain, outline, text button, contained, toggle elevation, outline button, success button, some medium, large. Maybe we can try to use a large one. So for that, what we have to do, we have to just add the property, extra property that is large. Similar to what customization that we want, we can just start adding up. Let me add that and then try to check. Yeah, so now it is a little bit bigger compared to the previous one. Now let's say if you want to add some icon, we can also add an icon. We'll try to see is there any other possibility that we can make it better. And there is some option where we can show the loader part. Okay, so whenever you are seeing in the UI, try to mimic the similar scenarios. So maybe we can use loading button for that. Okay, so we can try to customize everything and then try to see build one. Okay, primary. Okay, primary is okay for us. Medium size, let's say large, disabled. So this is how we can use this button so that it will come here like this. Maybe if we go to the respective API and then try to see what are other options are available. So color will be primary, secondary, success, errors are there. So let me try one more thing. Color equal to primary, secondary, error. Okay. I think there might not be no difference. Maybe we'll try with secondary. Yeah, so colors are changed. Now you got an idea. So these are the properties. So in this scenario, what are the property? Variant is a property name, size is a property name, type is a property name. But the type is it's a default HTML part. But whereas size and variant is done by the form IK, sorry, MUI component or MUI packages. Okay. So now we have the simple forms are ready. Now what we can do, we'll just maybe we can give some title. Good to go. Maybe we can also check is there any other option where we can, maintain the typography part. Typography typographies are there, so maybe we can check here to make it beautify. So let me go here, typography variant one. So maybe if you want to change it like that, we can instead of using simple HTML tag, we can use the typography variant and then try to use it. And then here again, we will get an error. What error we will get? We will get an error that we are trying to use typography, but that is not defined. So how do we import typography from this material? So we can just directly add it to. Now everything is good to go. We go back. Oops, looks very bad. Maybe we can try to reduce to somewhere H3. Variant could be H3. Yeah. Okay, that is also a little bit big. Maybe we can go for H5 or H6. Yeah, a little bit better now. So now we'll try to submit and then try to see. Now tell me how we can access this data, whatever the data that we are posting here, how we can access that in the API. Anybody remember what we have done last time? Let me add one more thing called loading, so that whenever we click on submit, we'll try to set the loading state. Okay, now we'll try to add up this here. Let me check, is there any button props, classes, color, disable elevation, end icon full with href size, start icon SX variant. Okay, so either we might have to use different loading state. Let me add here loading. Is there any circular? Maybe progress or something like that. Oh, so this is what we are trying to look for. Maybe we can just expand the code and then try to adjust it. So this also can be imported from circulars progress bar. Now what we are expecting whenever we are clicking on a submit, use state is not imported. Okay, where we can import? We can import it from React. So let me go here. Try to see how to go. I think there is a loader symbol, but the problem with the color. We'll try to change the color of the circular. Or we can change the color of the circular. Color secondary, color success, color inherit. Maybe color secondary might works. And we need some more space. Let me refresh the page and then try to see. Still there is a problem with the space. We'll use HTML tag space so that it will come without any worry. Yeah, now things are okay. So only thing, we have to call the server, correct? So that is the first challenge that you might have. Let me go back to the API. Do we have any API for sign up? No. So let us create one. So we already have some API to handle that auth part. So let me go here and then try to add some route. So we can add the route. Let's say sign up user slash, or we can just keep it as user sign up user slash sign up. So now we have to create this class, correct? So let me create one more file called sign up. And then what we have to do, we need some basics thing. So we'll just grab this part, maybe from, yeah, we can try to grab this part here. So instead of this login, we can just keep it as sign up form. What we have kept, sorry, user sign up form, we can keep it as. Let me go here, sign up, add that, and then try to print this part, and then try to return. What we can return? Okay, so we have not done anything, just printed the data from the last session, whatever we have done from the last time. So here the only thing is we have not imported. Let me import. Good to go. So now before even going to the front end, then check all the cases what we have to. So we have to go here, and then we have to check whether the sign up API is working fine or not. User slash sign up. So in here what we are trying to pass, one is full name, another one is email, another one is password. So one is full name, another one is email, another one is password. So ensure that the changes are made in the API and the directed changes are directed in the server or not. Yes, directed. So what we can do, we can just go and check. Yes. So it is coming now. So it means that if you are passing properly to the API server, that will return the successful response. So now we'll go back to the UI and then try to adjust. So we'll go back to the front end. We'll create some function, constant sign up service. Let me take the values as a input. So we'll go and grab the same logic what we have done before. So I think last time we have called the API to list out the users, right? So this is what we have done. This one is intro users. Let me go and grab the data. So the same data. Let me go back to the index start or sign up and then try to paste it. The only difference here is, let me bring that loading symbol also here. So whenever the APIs are called, it will try to set the state to loading, then it will call the API. So the API here is user slash sign up. But the thing is that it's a get method. So now we want to post the data. How do we do the post data? We'll go to the respective document and then try to see. Maybe we can simply go to Axia so that we'll go to the npm package straightforward. Post method. So if you notice here, the first argument is the path, second argument is the data that we want to pass. So let's go back here. So we have to change the method to post, and the URL will be, let me keep the URL here. Okay, so that it will be easier to see. First one is URL, second one is value. That's it. Now everything's done, good to go. Only thing here, we will not get any payload. So instead of that, what we try to do, we'll try to just print the message. Sorry, print the console the message. Okay. Now we'll go back here and then try to check. So from the front end, something is not there, Axios is not there. We know what we have to import it. So we can just go and grab the line of import statement and then try to put it here. Good to go. So now if we go back here and everything is fine, let me refresh the page. Good to go. If I submit, let me go here, clear it, everything. So you have to go to the network tab and then you can click on a fetch XHR. So if you click on submit, something is not correct. Maybe we'll check what's the problem. Okay, we have not called the function yet. We just printed, but we have not called. So instead of printing here, maybe we can print in the inside the function. Now we can call this function. So whenever on submit is happened, we can call this service. Let me clear. Let me click on submit now. Yeah, now something is triggered, but message also came undefined. Maybe because the port might be different. What is the port here? The port is running on 5000. What we are trying to call? 5000 only. What was the API? User slash sign up, correct? But any other prefix path? So let me go here and then try to just check everything's fine. Yes, correct. So let me go back and then check again. So clear it, memory, clear it. Click on submit. Sign up is called. Oh, okay. Data are came. But only thing, I think the variable name I have written is not correct. So I think this one changed into MSG. This one is CLS. So now if we go back here and then try to check, registered successfully came. See, but we are not storing into the database, but still what we are trying to do, we are trying to save the data into the database. Okay. So now what we have to do, for, let's say now we have got the data, but it is not safer when you are storing this data directly. But for time being, what we are trying to do, we are assuming that the data coming from the front ends are safe, but later you have to add the validation in the backend also. Now what we can do, we can try to insert the data. mdb dot users dot insert one, and whatever the data which is coming from the front end, is that only 3 data are coming, correct? So we can just spread it. Apart from that, what we have to do, we have to pass the ID. So what was the last ID that we have created? That is 11. Let me add 12 now. So now we'll go to the front end and then try to run it again. So now we have called. Now this also printed here. If we go back to the database and then try to run it, the 12 might be coming here. So in that, full name, email, passwords are came. Okay. But if you are trying to register again, what will happen? Because we have hard coded the registration ID well in the backend, what will happen? This will raise a duplicate error. Let me submit again. You got an error. Why? Because server raised an error. So now how do we do that? Either we have to come up with some logic to make this unified, or if you are not supplying any underscore ID, no, what will happen? It will try to create by involve. So there is something called object ID. Let me go back here and then try to adjust it. Now let me refresh the page and then try to run it, submit, registered. If you go back here, you notice that object IDs are created. Now, even if you're running any number of times, let's say I'm changing into 2, then changing into 3, then changing into 4, then changing into 5, then changing into 6, then changing into 7, then let me go back to the database and then check. Now all the data are came. You notice here, there is some unique object IDs are created and then it just start inserting the data. Now, if we go back to the UI for the users one, you will get an error. Okay. Here, I think we are limiting the data. We are not getting an error. Let me go and adjust that so that we will get an error. What was the API? I think we have this one. So if you're not putting the limit right now, I'll remove the limit and then try to check. But we got an error. Why? Because it trying object ID is not the JSON. So if you notice here, what is coming? Type error, object of type object ID is not a JSON serializable. We know that JSON does not contain, there is some type called object ID. If you go to json.org, I think json.org, so we know that the type of value that supports, these are the value that supports string, number, object, array, true, false, null. But here in the database itself, we can see that there is a type called object ID, but there is no such thing in exist in the JSON part. So now what we have to do, how do we resolve that? See, any point in time, you will have this kind of errors. That is why I'm trying to mimic all the different scenario, how I will search when I trying to approach any new library, so that whenever you do, you will have the similar problems. So that how will you solve this problem? Let me grab this line of code. We know that this is a Python server, correct? So Python code, yes, correct. Now let me go and grab first part. Second part, we are using for routing. What we are using? For routing, we are using Flask Restful. So from the Flask Restful only the data are returning. So if you search like that, then we'll try to see what can be done. So now we can just search for that and then try to read what we have to do. What they are trying to say that, so either from BSON, we can import the object ID. From that, we can call some function that will try to check the instance. When you say east instance, it will try to check the type of the instance and then try to encode and return. But how do we attach it? So either we can attach JSON.encode of analytics and then class encoder, or we'll try to see is there any other way to handle that, because we don't want to hard code every places, right? We don't want to hard code every line of code every time. We don't want to do like that for each API. So maybe we can try to look something globally to take care of things. So let me check. Maybe we can add one more statement like class configurations or something like that. So this also they are trying to say that the same thing only. Maybe we have to do some little bit of research to adjust it. How we want to do that? Each document number dump no idea. Let's go back to the another one. So encoder we are using. So somehow we have to use similar logic, but only thing, how do we attach this one to the config? Maybe we can search something like app.json encoder is something like that. Yeah. So from the first query, what we can do, we can try to grab the first part. There it is. We can try to grab that this code. Let me go back to the config or something like that. Maybe do we have any config? No config. Maybe we can go to okay. So now this part is done. Now we want to encode. So how we can encode? How we can attach app.json? Oh, here it's there. So we have an app where it's an app. We have an app here. We can try to attach the encoder. Let me go and then try to run it. There it is. Yeah, clear it. Till we have some other issue, we can stop the server and then try to see. Okay, clear it. What was some other issue? I think it is not attached. Maybe we might have to attach it to the API. Still, that is also not helping. It was so we need this one Flask Restful custom. Okay, so root config from object. Okay, so we are trying to attach. Okay, so we have that config. This logic might work. Let me go here and then try to adjust it. So from the AF we are trying to take from the RESTful JSON, we can pass that. Okay, let me go and restart the server again one more time. Let me go back to the UI, then clear it and then try to run. Yeah, now data set came. See, whenever we are encountering an error and try to see the similarity. Let's say we have see the first page, this one, and from that we try to identify, okay, some problems are there. What is the problem? So we're trying to encode that JSON, but the object ID is not there in this as part of the JSON format. So the error was placed. Now we want to try to solve the problem. So when we try to solve the problem, now first thing we got some results. that results related to, we can attach some custom encoder or some sort of things. Okay, this one is not there. Maybe we can go here. Yeah. So what they are trying to say, they are just trying to pass some encoder, and they are also checking the object ID whether it is exist or not. Whenever it is object ID is exist, they are just trying to convert it to string, and then doing it. But the only problem, uh, we are trying to adjust it. But what happened now, because we are using some other packages, that packages is completely depends on Flask Restful. But whatever the code which was given here is related to Flask. But we are looking for Flask Restful. Now again we have to search something like more specific to the Flask Restful, and then we have to adjust according to our requirement. Okay, so that will, whenever you encounter any such a problem, nobody is there for you at the time. So the only thing, what is your approach, and how you wanted to pass your error, and how will you identify the problem and then try to solve in a one step at a time. And every step of the way, we have to be very clear what has to gonna happen, so that you can easily relate and then try to solve it quickly. Okay, let me proceed with that part. Now we are in this page. So now let's say this is a simple table. Last time we have used HTML, correct? HTML table we have used. Now we'll try to see, is there any component that help us to show the table data. So there is something called table data. So now we'll show the table code. Yeah, so either we can use create data and we can just pass the data. Maybe we'll try to see, is there any other simpler way to do that. This one is a little more comfortable. Let's say we can define the column, so field name, field key, what we want to display, what is the title, and then what is the specific width. And we can pass it like the data array of object. So if you notice in our case, we are getting the data in an array of object. Let's say if I go back to the user, get sample, not here, where it is. Yeah, so we are getting array of object. So I think which are more similar to these components, what we can do, we can try to utilize this part. So let me go back to the front end. Let me close all the files. Now we'll go to the users index. So if you notice here, this is the table that we have created, correct? So instead of this table, we are trying to use MUI table. Okay, first thing we have to import, as usual, that is straightforward, good to go. Second thing, we wanted to define the column definitions. So let me create column definitions here. But here there are so many unknown fields are there, so I'll try to remove everything. But for now, I'll try to take only one field so that we don't want to mess up with a lot of data. So let me take underscore ID. Field is underscore ID. The display is, let's say, user ID. Let's say ID is, let's say, 100, something like that. Now, I think this one we need not to worry much right now. It's a TypeScript, so we need not to worry. After that, what we have to do? Now, data are coming. The data are in the name of rows, but in our case, data are in the name of the variable called users. Okay, the only that adjustments that we have to make. And then we can just grab this line of code and then we can adjust it. So now we'll come here and then just adjust it here. And instead of rows, we have to change into users because our variable name is users. Columns remains columns. Page is okay. Page size options are okay. So now we'll check selection option. We don't need. Yeah. So we'll go back here and then try to see. What is saying that cannot resolve at the MUIX data grid. So it might be a sub packages that we might want to install. Let me check. Let me go to the API part. I think table demos. Okay. I think that is a separate package. Maybe we can just go to the getting started and then check, is there any other things related to the table? Nowhere related to the table. Maybe what we can do, we can try to search for what we have got an error. We got an error like this, npm. So technically, there is some package called MUI data grid npm package. Yes, same thing only. Yeah, at MUI data X grid, right? Let me copy and check it again. Yeah, which are the same. So what we can do, we can do the installation. But whenever you are using npm, what we have to do? We have to paste, I mean, we have to type as save again also. So let me install it. Protocol server is starting. Started. What it says, the data grid component requires all rows to have the unique ID property. Alternatively, you can have get row ID prop to specify the custom ID of each row. Okay. So what they are saying that ID should be unique, but here we are passing underscore ID. So because of that, it raising an error. So what we can do, we can also specify the custom property, that is get row ID. Maybe we can check here what is get row ID here. This place. Let me go back to the table again. Custom ID. Size, sticky header, SX. No such things are exist. Okay. We can go and check here itself data grid component. From the data grid component, data grid props. From the data grid props, we can go into data groups props with the default value, data groups processing. Okay, we can just go for here. Auto height, auto page size, checkbox selection. So these are things that we have saw already. So now there is something should be related to the ID that we are looking for. So there are so many other properties are there. Now we'll try to see row height. See, the only clue which I have right now is checkbox selection, page option size, initial state, columns, rows. So based on that only, we are just going it further. Starting mode, throttle mode, okay, so on. So there are so many things are there. Maybe we can try to see row ID, get row ID. So get row ID is the function that return something. Get row ID getter. So that will look for get row ID. It's a string number. Okay. Let me pass. Okay. So from the row, we can try to pass the ID. So it's because it's a event handler. So we can take the argument. From the argument, we can try to pass the underscore ID. So let me go back here and then try to see what was the problem. Yeah. So now the data are came. Now, because we have added one column, now what we can do? We can add one more column. What is the other column that we wanted to add? Let me check here. Full name is there, date of birth is there, age is there. So let me add full name. Full name. This will be the display text. And let's keep it as some 300. Okay, comma is missing. So let me go back here. Full name is added. And we have given for page size is 5. So all the data are coming. So pagination also done. As simple as that. The only thing, whenever we are getting an error, we should not hesitate to read the errors. So we should try to read the error and then try to go ahead with what we have. So let's say the clue is here. Let's say when you're clicking on command or control, if you click on this one, it will try to show you the definition of that the component. If you go here and then try to see they might have specified the type of the component. So let's say if you go here and there are some properties are there. So if you go to the data grid props, from the data grid props, they have some other props and values. So from here, you can try to extract some of the data. So at least you have to have some clue and you can just start developing on that on top of it. Okay, so now good to go. Maybe if you want to add some paper, we can just add a paper here and then just add some style. Maybe that is done. And we can also add a container here. So we have to import it. That's it. As simple as that. Is it very hard to follow? Are you guys there?
Yes, sir.
Is it very hard to follow?
No, sir.
No, sir.
See, very simple. The starting point is only these three words. The only three words that we want to learn here is that what is component, and props and state. Other than that, all other things are very similar to that. Let's say there is a component. Instead of component, they are having some other property. Let's say this is a component. These are the property. The same way, let's say it's a component, container is a component. It might be depends on our own package, our own file, or it can be a package that we are importing. So container is part of the material package, MUI material package. So this is a non-default import or the named import. So this also named import only. So this is not default import. Very similar concepts. And let's say there is a paper as a component. Of course, we can pass the props, no? So style as a props, one of the prop. So this is simple diagram. Again, this is one of the component. Again, if you notice here, this is simple prop, and this will be the event handler. This also simple prop only. This also simple prop. And some of the there are so many props are there, but those are things are optional. So we need not to worry. See, making the pages is not that hard. The only thing, what is our approach, and then how we are trying to utilize the functionalities. Now, if you notice here, even if I try to type 10 times, what will happen? It will, where is that? Database. Okay. So here, there are one more data source inserted. So we have added name 10, it's came. Good to go. So you can have any number of fields, no problem with that. The only thing, how we wanted to get started with the form. Let's say after submitting the data, we might wanted to show some UI, let's say successfully registered, and we might wanted to take them to the login page. So those are the next step that we wanted to do. Let's say if you want to show some nice pop-up, we can do that. See, we can use some UI kits that which is already available. Access, so top center, top right.
Sir, can you add forget password option in this way?
Yeah, we can. Let's create. See, it will not take much time. So let me add one more forgot password options. Let me add here. Okay, forgot. Now I have just duplicated the file. Okay, forgot password. For now, temporarily, I'm removing all these dummy data. And here we used to collect forgot password email. We have to collect. Correct. That is the only thing that we have to collect. So instead of sign up service, I'll just put the console. And instead of sign up form, we can just add forgot password form. And we don't need a full name. We need only email, password. We don't need. Click on submit. Remain things are same. Now let me export this one in the bottom. Now forgot is inside the sign up. So we'll go to the routes. I just duplicated user slash forgot password. What is the component that we have given? Which is from where? Inside sign up, there is some file called forgot. Okay, now done. Now let me go back to the UI. And if we change this one to forgot, what was the page I have given? What is the route? Forgot hyphen password. Good to go. That's it.
Okay, sir.
Understood.
Got it.
See, making these things are very easier. Only thing, the base thing you have to be comfortable. The base things are only four part, or four or three to four part. One is related to the how the components are using, how we can import the component, how to work with the props, how to work with the use effects, how to work with the services. These are the things are very basic things. If we know that, then we can try to adjust it as according to our needs, because all other things are related to the business logic. Let's say one person have the to fetch the feeds, one person have to fetch the task, one person has to fetch the list of schedules, so and so. It depends on the requirement. But only thing, the base ideas remain same. This can be scaled to any part. And over the time, let's say here, if you notice here, the local host 5000 is we were hard coded, correct, for all the places. But we don't want to do
Okay.
that. Why? Because let's say if tomorrow, right now you are testing in local. Now tomorrow you wanted to post it in some website. Now, when we wanted to host in website, and if throughout the project, if you're hard coding HTTP colon localhost 5000, now every time whenever you are going for a deployment, then now you have to go and change all over the places. Correct. That is a very tedious job. So for that, what we have to do? So again, we have to try to see what could be the possibility in Axios. There is something called interceptors. So there is a concept called interceptors. What it does, it will try to attach the base URLs. In the interceptors, what it does, let's say whenever you are calling the API, it will try to add some more functionality. So from that, what you can do from the config, you can attach the base URL so and so. So maybe we can try to see the Axios API. We'll try to see base, maybe URL or some sort of things. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll check. Post request config. Yeah. So URL method base URL. Yeah, we have the base URL. So we can attach the base URL only one place. Now we will try to reuse that. So when we try to reuse, what will happen? We need not to hard code in all the places, because this is not scalable. No. Let's say if you are changing the port of the server from the API server, if you are changing the port to 5000 to 5001, then you have to search all over the places and then change. Then that is not a feasible solution. So these are the improvement level changes. I mean, best practices, where to keep, what to keep, in what folder structure we have to keep. Some sort of things are the next level. But before that, to overcome our initial fear, what we have to do, we have to just start trying with a simple thing and then just start scaling it one step at a time. Okay. Any queries?
No, sir.
See, how much time it took for us to create a forgot password page?
5 minute maximum.
So that's it. Correct. Even if you are doing it, it will take the same amount of time. The only thing, if you are know the basics, let's say if you are coming to the page for the first time, you have what you have to do. You have to just minimize all the part and then try to see the big picture. Let's say here only one components are there, and then again minimize all the sub level. Now if you notice here, one use states are there, another some variables are there, another return. Of course the return part is the major part. Now again if you start minimizing the second level, now you can easily see what are the components are utilized. See, when we start seeing the big picture, then that is the good place to start. I hope this helps to come up with the forms, try to connect to the database and then try to adjust it. Okay,
Yes, sir.
any queries?
No, sir.
Okay, see, try to learn something new every day. That way, maybe if you're learning React, then go to the official portal of React and then try to see what is there. And then don't stop it because you are not understanding. See, whenever we are going to any of the documentations, we are not spending much time. We just go there and then try to click on some samples and then try to see, okay, whether it is useful or not. We'll try to grab it and then just use it. It does not work, and then we'll try to solve the problem. But for a long time, what you have to do is just go through all the links. Let's say if you are going to autocomplete, but at least you need to know the where you want to use. Let's say if you are going here autocomplete, something the name itself tells. Let's say whenever you start typing, it will suggest something. That is what autocomplete. Let's say go to button. So we have to use something called button. There is some type different patterns are there. Now if you go to button group, there are more than one button group. There could be a possibility of variants. There could be a possibility of size and colors. Okay, so but once you see all the pages, let's say simply scroll and then see. Just start seeing the example. See here, hard buttons are there. This is what people are looking for. Correct? For
Yes, sir.
mimicking the UI. So it is not a big deal. But without this library also, you should have a knowledge, how to reuse that, or how you can come up with your own. Okay, huh? But for timing, what you can also try to use these libraries and then try to come up with the UIs. Let's say if you are having a ratings for the post, you can, or instead of rating, you might have stars, you might have votes, some sort of things. Select box, drop down, slider. Let's say you want to increase the volume or decrease the volume or some sort of things. Or you might want to choose step by step numbers. Maybe yes or no type. This one we have already used. This one will be used to transfer the data. Toggle buttons. Okay, so the only thing you have to just go through the components and then try to utilize it as is required. Even if you are spending hardly 1 hour and then just going through the simple examples, now you will have the broader goal. From that, you can just go ahead with the next step. Okay, thank you.